Welcome to Permission to Adapt. You guys, this session is all about equipping you and giving you the confidence and the sense of security in who you are and what you are called to do and who God has equipped you to be so that you can homeschool confidently. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I see in the homeschool realm, the questions that come up, even the simple ones of, is it enough? How do I know I'm doing this right? Where should I start? I'm not sure. It really stems from this sense of, I don't actually know what I'm doing. I'm new at this. I feel like I have to do exactly what's in front of me. I feel like I have to keep up with what everyone else is doing. And it stems from, its root is rooted in this need for just permission. And that is what I hope to give you today. I hope that you walk away from today's session feeling confident in who you are and that you feel like, okay, it doesn't have to look as rigid or as boxed in as perhaps I thought it needed to look. So I'm going to be talking specifically about Gather Round, but this applies to anything that you are using, any curriculum you are using, any schedule, any routine, or any arbitrary line that you have been holding yourself to. So we're going to talk about that today. You may want some extra coffee for this one, some iced tea, I don't know, cold glass of water, okay? Just dump it on your head, something. Wake up and tune in and focus up because we have some stuff to talk about today. All right, let's get into it. All right, so before we talk about what this looks like to have permission, I want to give you permission. Who am I to be giving you permission? I'm somebody who's been there. I am somebody who has been homeschooling my kids for, I don't even know how long. My oldest is grade something. Okay, he's turning 14. So I've been homeschooling since he was like 3 years old. I started with all the preschool books. I had the full thing. I had Button Bear. I had Amber Lamb. I did puppet shows. Okay, I was all in. I was like, we're doing this homeschool thing and we're doing it right. Now, when I first started, homeschooling right was a very specific thing to me. I had a vision. I had a very neat, tidy, packaged bow of what I thought homeschooling should be. And because I even had experience being homeschooled and in the homeschool realm, so be it, I actually had a worse I was in a bad place, guys, because I really had a clear, unrealistic expectation of myself and of our homeschool and of my kids. Unfortunately, my poor firstborn child. So that was me. So what qualifies me to give you permission is that I have been here. I have done this, and I can tell you that it is not as complicated nor as stringent as you think it is in your head. You likely are coming to this session if you feel like you need permission, then you are somebody who is currently holding yourself to some line. Wherever that line has come from, if you listen to the Is It Enough session, then you probably have just had this all hammered in your head, but somewhere out there, some sort of, whether it's a person, whether it is your own experiences, has given you a standard of education and a picture of what it is supposed to look like. This is a line. It's a standard that you're holding yourself to, that you are deciding that anything less than that does not match up. And if you don't have a lot of experience with homeschooling, then you are opening up your school books, you are seeing everything laid out in front of you, and you are thinking that you have to do exactly what you see. You are looking at kids go off to school on the school bus at 8 a.m. and show up again at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and thinking that that is exactly what you need to do. But the truth is that you are not a teacher in a brick and mortar school teaching a classroom of 20 plus kids who are all in the same grade, dealing with recesses and lunch breaks and all of the different things that come up with a school setting. You are a mom or a dad who's homeschooling in your home, with your own children. This is not the same as education in a school building. This is not the same as a group or a list of deadlines and of your kid needs to learn this by this age or else. This is different. You have the opportunity to rewrite the narrative of what education is. And it is not that there is a right or that there is a wrong answer for that. And if you are saying that what is happening at school is right, or what that person is doing is right, or what I experienced was right, and everything else is wrong, then I can promise you, you will be missing out. You are going to be running on a hamster wheel trying to attain something that doesn't even exist because it only exists in your head. The reason that schools do things the way that they do is because they have to, because they have a large class that they're trying to wrangle together, that they're trying to keep interested in what they're doing, because they have to fit in recesses and breaks and all of these different things, because they have to be accountable to the parents and make sure that they're teaching a certain amount of content, because they have to check off what the government tells them they need to teach kids for a certain age at certain levels. That is the reason they do things the way that they do in school. Not necessarily because it's the best, not necessarily because it is right. So you need to first and foremost sit down and ask yourself, what is the picture of what I expect homeschooling to look like, that I think that I have to fit into this box? Is it coming from my curriculum? Is it coming from my experiences? And then you need to analyze if that is true, if that is right, and if that is the best thing, or if that's just what you know that you are trying to emulate. When I'm talking about permission to adapt, I'm talking about, listen, anything you use, from your schedule, your routine, your planner, your curriculum, your experiences as a family, what this looks like, how long you homeschool, how many hands-on things you do, how many field trips you do, whether you just open and read or whether you dive in and do experiments, it is entirely dependent on you and your family and your kids, and no one can answer that for you. No one. Now, you might have to do certain things for certain reasons to reach certain milestones, for certain protocols for your state or your province or your school or whatever your situation may be. But the reality is that what is actually right or wrong in an educational setting is up to you. And nobody knows better than you, your children, your situation, your circumstances, their skills, their strengths, their weaknesses, and what God has called you to do and what God has called them to be. Nobody. You and your husband and you. That's it. You're the people who get to decide what this looks like. So permission to adapt means first and foremost that you want to take everything in your head of the woulda, coulda, shoulda, like this is what it should look like, and you want to throw that to the side just for a minute. Pretend you know nothing about education. Pretend you know nothing about homeschooling. I don't care if you've been doing this for 10 years. I want you to pretend that no rules, guidelines, previous pictures exist. You are having a blank slate in front of you, and think about, what is this supposed to be for our family? Specifically, when we're talking about gather round, you're going to open up your units, and the first thing that you're going to see is a massive book list. Okay? I want to tell you guys that the reason I put that book list in there is literally because you guys wanted to have books. This was not because you require them. This is not because the lesson is based off of them. We are not the same as other curriculum companies that have an entire curriculum based around a reading schedule. No. Everything you need is in Gather Round. You are going to open it up, you're going to read from the teacher's guide, and you are going to do your student notebooks. There is literally nothing else that you need. You do not need the supplies on the supply list. You do not need the books on the book list. You don't need the hands-on activity stuff. You literally need your student books and your teacher's guide. That is it. That is my core mandate. I wanted to create a curriculum that was open and go. I love books. I love books. I'm addicted to books. I feel like, how could I be a homeschooler and not love books? You should see my shelves. You should see my shelves downstairs. I have 3 cube bookshelves full of books, and then I have a custom bookshelf that is 3 wide full of books. Not to mention the books here in my barn. I love books, but I want to go and buy the books I'm interested in. I want to buy the ones that are the most amazing, the most classic, the richest. I want poetry. I want what I want on my shelves. I don't want to have to get a massive handful of books that must be read on a certain schedule in order to keep up with the school my kids are doing. I wanted it to be nothing required. So when you open up your Gather Round unit and you see a list of books that you are supposed to be reading, that is entirely optional. I have not once used a book list. I actually create the book list off of books that I have on my shelf. I go and tell the kids, go and choose a book. I have books about everything. We can go find something to go along with oceans. It's just not my thing. I don't actually care that much. I put it in there for you guys, but I need you to hear this from me, that you have permission to just ignore that. You don't have to read about the subject. Your kids are already doing all of their subjects based around one topic and theme. There is no reason they have to go read a picture book on that, or their readers need to be about that. Go choose a reader on something else if you want to. It doesn't matter. As long as your child is reading, as long as you're having time together as a family and looking at words, you are going to be just fine. So if you're looking at that thinking that that is something you have to do, please let me be the person to tell you, you do not. Okay? The second thing is a supply list at the front. We include the supply list because some of our first units weren't very hands-on. They're not very hands-on because I think hands-on is probably the best way to learn, but I simply don't have the time or the motivation. I don't like hands-on. I like it in theory. In practice, not so much. So I've tried to create where we have extension activities and hands-on activities and adaptations and experiments, but there's ways that you can do it without doing the experiment. Do this experiment or watch this video. Do this experiment, or more and more we're doing that where there is actually literally nothing required. So when you see that supply list at the front of your book, that's for extension activities, rabbit trails, fun stuff. That is not required. It is not necessary. You have full autonomy on whether you're going to do those or not. I often do not do those. What I will do is I will do the ones that are like, look this up or watch this video. I like those. They're simple. I sit on my phone. The kids are engaged. I really enjoy those. Don't so much enjoy if it's like, go and buy these supplies and build this massive poster as a family. No. And those of you that do it, I'm going to slow clap for you because I think you're amazing. But I don't like messes, and I don't like work, and I don't like cleaning up the work, and it just makes more work. And so sometimes I walk away and I tell my kids, okay, you have permission to do this. But then I like walk away and I try not to look back because it's just too painful for my heart to see the mess and the chaos and and I want it a certain way. I'm actually a perfectionist. I'm like, if we're going to do this poster, okay, it's going to be epic. It's going to be like lift the flaps and like beautiful. And no, that's not good enough art, or that's not good enough handwriting. Okay, let's make this pretty. And then I get involved, and then I know I just ruin it. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I do this with baking, by the way. I just kind of walk away and I'm like, you know what? I value your guys' creativity, and I value creating a home environment where my kids are free to explore and learn. And so I'll say, sure, you can do that experiment. Sure, you can bake those cookies. Sure, you can do that as long as you clean up afterwards. And then I go away because it's just too painful for my heart, you know? Anyways, I'm telling you this so that you know that when you look at that supply list, a pencil, you need a pencil. That's literally it. Maybe some scissors and glue. Like, you do not need to go crazy. You don't need to decorate your whole house. If you do want to, have fun. Do it as a family. Do what makes you happy. But seriously, it is not required to get the most out of this curriculum at all. And if you're using other curriculum that has the same, obviously, if the book list is required in order to do the lessons, that's a different story. But I would say most curriculum, it's going to lay it out for you in a way where it's like, this is the expectation, do this next. You as the parent have total autonomy to say, yes, I'm going to do that, or no, that's a terrible idea. Why would I do that? Okay? So tell yourself right now, repeat after me, I don't have to do everything that's written in the books. We're going to repeat that a few more times. Okay. Going back to Gather Round, adapt the book list. Adapt the extension activities. Adapt the writing. If you are working with a child who is not strong in their writing skills, who hates writing, maybe they're a great writer, but they just absolutely hate it, and so you're fighting with them every single time you have to do any sort of writing. Okay? Please do not feel like because their student page says write, this that they have to write that. Find some other way. You know what? No, I want you to tell us about it. I want you to research that, and I want you to present it to us at the dinner table and explain and teach what you learned about. Or I want you to draw a picture instead. Or I'm going to dictate for you and you tell me. Or do a poster. Or I would like you to put together a Minecraft presentation about that. Or I want you to do a slideshow with pictures and whatever. You can make it whatever you want to make it. If it says to write, you can decide whether you're going to write or whether you're going to do something else. The point is in the learning. Writing is not the only way to show what you're learning. There are so many other ways to show what you're learning. And it's one of my personal pet peeves and one of the reasons that I felt compelled to create this curriculum, because language arts involves writing, okay? Write. Spelling is writing. Grammar is writing. Rewrite the sentence. Your writing is writing. I mean, there's just writing all throughout language arts. So you buy the language arts curriculum, you buy the spelling curriculum, you buy the handwriting curriculum, you buy the whatever, copywork curriculum, you buy all the curriculums. Your kids are writing all the time. Oh, but that's just language arts. Now you're going to go over here and you're going to add science, which is read this dry textbook, and now I'd like you to write written response to all these questions. And then you're going to go over and do your history, and it's going to say read this textbook and then write a written response to everything that you're learning. This is called traditional education. This is the traditional model of learning, where you read and you write, and those are the only ways to show what you're learning. One of the things you'll find in Gather Round, especially the more that you do our units and you see the progression of how we're growing and finding new and unique ways to present what you've learned, is that we really try to not bog your child down with writing, especially in the younger formative elementary years. So early reader, early elementary, very little writing other than their writing project, because we're really aware of the fact that writing is a lot, and that when we do it, let's make it lasting, impactful, and important, and effective and efficient, not just for the sake of getting out or presenting what you learned. Your kids can narrate what they learned. They can tell you what they learned. They can do a summation of what they learned. You can have a discussion. They can draw a picture. They can, I don't know, toss a ball back and forth and practice their spelling words. There's no reason it all has to involve a pencil or circling the right answer. In fact, I would say circle the right answer, match. We try to do that so that there's not as much writing. But you guys, just here's a question, tell me the answer is not the best way to not only tell me what you learned, but also is not the best way to remember. I think sometimes we think if they read this and then they answer a question about it, then they're going to remember it. Where does it say that? There's nothing that says that if you ask them a question about it, they're going to remember it. Now, because they just did it, they just read it, they just learned, perhaps if you were lucky and they were listening, there is definitely a chance that they're going to be able to write the answer to that question or circle the right answer immediately thereafter. However, why are they going to remember it? It's not about the practice of presenting what you know, of writing it out, of circling, of asking them a question. It is, did the information penetrate? Did it have something to connect it to your child? Did it have meaning? Was it presented in a way that captivated them, that was interesting, that pulled them in, that had vested interest on their behalf? If it did, then it doesn't matter. Sure, they can write about it, you can discuss it, you can do none of that. They're still going to remember it because it meant something to them. 90% of teaching is in the presentation. But we take that away. We do a tiny bit of teaching, or we expect them to learn on their own, read this on your own, do this on your own. We're trying to get you to independence, and then we're drilling them with questions, and we're thinking that that question and answer period or the worksheet that you're doing is actually the way that we're going to reinforce what you've learned and make it stick. No, wrong. That is incorrect. For most children, for most of us, the reason I remember it is not because it was drilled into me, not because I answered a question, but because I was interested. Because my attention was piqued, because I was vested in it, because it captured me, because I thought about it a little bit, because it meant something to me, because there was an experience connected to it, because of the nostalgic emotional connection with it, because I remember that we were laughing our heads off when we did it. Those are the reasons that I remember something, that it impacts me, that I choose to mull over it and munch on it, okay? Chew my cud of learning a little bit more, is not because of the worksheet. The worksheet is secondary. If we could shift our perspective away from that and instead say, you know what, we don't have to do any of the actual written output of worksheets. Instead, let's make sure, let's put all our attention and focus on the presentation of this. Let's watch videos, let's make it fun, let's make it engaging. Let's have you present it. Oh, now you're presenting it. Now you're presenting it. Okay, everyone stop. Who can do this and show me what you learned in the way that makes us laugh the most? Like, pull your kids in, make it fun. They will remember. And you're gonna have dinner as a family and they're gonna be, oh, remember this? Oh yeah, we learned about this. Why? Because of the experience. So permission to cut the writing, cut the pages. You don't have to do what's written there. I am trying to give you tools. I'm trying to give you resources. I'm trying to give you ways of even proving that you've done school. A lot of us have to show stuff like that, but I am not trying to wrap you up, tie you up, box you in. I am just giving you the tools and the structure, but you as the parent have ultimate permission to make this whatever it needs to be for your family. You have permission to adapt the schedule. Okay, we do a 4-day week. That's the way it's designed. You don't have to do a 4-day week. Do a 5-day week. Do a 3-day week. Do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's about what we do, twice a week. That's what I can fit in. And the rest of the time, my kids are free range and they're learning how to clean and they're learning how to cook and they're taking care of the many, many animals that we have. And they're working down at the shop and they're making boxes and they are riding their bikes and they are taking out the garbage and they're mowing the grass and they're playing with their friends and they're playing their instruments. You guys, my kids are doing so many things other than just sitting down and learning. And they're learning while they do it. They're growing. Their mind is developing. They're that much more mature, with that much more of an attention span, with those many more experiences, life experience to tether what they're learning to. See, if I just box my kids in and you sit in your little shell and all you do is learn, you're learning something that means nothing to you. But when you go out and you experience that, when you have baked or cooked for yourself, and I'm talking about the difficulties of cooking without an oven or the difficulties of cooking without your mixer, okay, and you have just done it with your mixer and you put it in the oven and you saw how easy that was, all of a sudden it makes sense. When I'm talking about fractions with a child, unless they have done baking or they have personally tried to divide something up equally to their siblings, there is nothing for them to connect that information to. You want your kids to understand fractions? Start having them work with fractions. Start having them understand the concept with real life things that matter. Listen, money matters. Give your kid $1 and then give them 4 quarters and teach them that 4 quarters makes $1, 25. You can teach them decimals in that. 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, 0.25 makes 1. Okay, like there's so much learning, but if they have nothing to attach that to, because we're just all focused on learning, great, congratulations. You taught your child, but they have nothing to tether that information to, and they have forgotten it. And at the end of the day, let's be realistic, at the end of the day, you feel great because you spent all day homeschooling. At the end of the month, when you look back, or the end of the school year, when you say, what did you learn? And they can't tell you, the reason is not that you weren't doing school enough. The reason is that we are not focusing enough on the experience, we're not focusing enough on life experience, or that we are trying to focus on getting the stuff done and checking off the work list instead of keeping it about the presentation and the connection and the wonder and the fun and the excitement and the silliness and the goofiness and the just family relationship that you can build. This is why I created Gather Round. I don't want learning to just be something we do to check it off. You have to go to school from K to 12. I want it to be something they remember. I want to teach my kids things that matter. I want it to be lasting. I want them to walk away from 12 years of education with me, and I want them to go into adulthood learning and knowing the power of the way they communicate, knowing that there are hidden messages all around them, knowing to be aware of what people are not saying versus what people are saying, and picking up on those things. I want them to know how to learn. I want them to understand why they learn. I want them to have a connection with learning itself and the reward of learning, and to feel that self-satisfaction of discovery, and how captivating that feeling is of, I did it. I figured that out on my own, so that they want more and they just can't help themselves, so that they actually understand the privilege that it is to learn. Homeschooling, you guys, get out of the box of we need to do the grade 1 curriculum this year and think bigger picture. You have such an incredible opportunity with your kids. You get to teach them about how to have a strong character, how to be the kind of people who don't grow up and fall apart when things get difficult. You get to teach them how to stand in the midst of trials and difficulties. You get to teach them how to rely on God no matter what they face. You get to teach them how to love difficult people like their siblings and walk through and commit to relationships even when the going gets tough. You get to teach your kids work ethic. You get to teach your kids how to walk in peace with people around them, how to stand firm for what they believe in, and how to communicate in love and not hate other people, but at the same time not allow themselves to be swayed. You get to raise world changers. But you're not going to raise world changers if you are just trying to fit in the box, because the box of the natural method of education is not made to raise world changers. World changers rock the boat. They make people uncomfortable, okay? Traditional education is made to raise traditional grown adults who will do what they're told to do and not think outside of the box. If you want to raise children, adults, responsible people who are not just doing what they're told to do, but truly, truly, truly thinking of things in a different and a unique way. The ones who are the inventors, the shifters, the movers, the leaders. Then you have to shift your perspective. When you open a curriculum, when you get a box, when you start homeschooling, you do not have to do what is in front of you. In fact, do not. Teach your kids to look at it and say, what's the good I can take from this, and what am I going to toss? Because that's life. That's life summed up in one little thought. When you go and you look on social media, people are so quick to look around them and to just, all of this is wrong. This is the cancel culture we live in. Because this person said one thing, because this person did one thing, because of this, because of that, because this pedestal, but this one thing, we take them and we say, now everything they've ever said, everything they've ever done is null and void because of that one thing. Wrong. You want kids to be different? You want your children to be different? You want this next generation to be different? Then you teach your kids that it is not about the one thing. How can you take this message, this word, this person, this experience? What can you learn from it? What can you take from it? What is good from it? And then discern what is not good from it. What am I not going to receive? What am I not going to take? What am I just going to leave? What am I just going to ignore? What am I just going to decide is not for me? Which battles am I going to fight? Which ones am I just going to, you know what? This isn't my battle. If you can teach your kids that by modeling for them, by walking it out in the small things such as your homeschool curriculum to the big things that you face, then you are going to be raising kids who are so counterculture to what we have today, who are not going to be swayed by others, and who are also not going to rip other people apart just because of the one thing. I hope you guys look at this year, this homeschool year, this next year, whatever you are doing. I hope that you walk away from this understanding that everything that you have been presented with, whether it's your schedule, how long you should be homeschooling, how many days, what it needs to look like, how much of your curriculum you need to do, how much they need to learn in a year, whatever that may be. Do the minimal that you have to do for the sake of the government, okay? That's important. But walk away with this. You know your kids. You know what you have been called to do. And if you don't, stop this video. Go for a walk. Go to a coffee shop. Take a journal. Pray. Ask God. Listen, you guys, He cares so much about your homeschool. He cares so much about your kids. He cares. This isn't just, oh, well, I choose to, I guess, care about the lesser thing of home education. Really, all that matters is I'm looking for people who will be pastors. That's really all I'm interested in. And everybody else, well, it's lesser, but I guess I care about that too because I'm God. No, no. God cares about home education. He cares about your family. He cares about your children. He cares about raising world changers who are going to work at Walmart. Tell me, like, they need Jesus in Walmart. He cares about raising world changers who are going to go and become pilots and become teachers and become mothers raising the next generation. He cares so deeply. If you can just feel the heart of God towards your homeschool, you sitting there right now, He cares about your home. He cares about your homeschool. He cares about you. And He has so much He wants to give you for your homeschool. Go, seek Him, ask Him, take all the other voices, all the pictures out of your head, all the expectations, all the things you think you need to do. Ask Jesus what He has for your homeschool, what you are called to do, what your kids are called to do, and walk in that. Walk in that. You have permission. If you are using my curriculum, then I have the authority to tell you, you have permission to throw out what does not work for you. Make it what you need it to be and what God has asked you to do, and just do that. I hope you are encouraged. I hope you are blessed. And I hope that this is something you truly take. That just like with our kids and the way we present it, that it matters, that the presentation, I pray that the way that this was presented, it clicks with you. You remember it, that the seed that is planted goes deep, and that God uses this in your life to flourish you, to flourish your children in a way that will actually change and shift. Let it not be about the curriculum. Let it be about the prompt to seek Him first. Because, oh my goodness, He has greatness in store for you. All right, that's it. That's all I have for you. Permission to adapt. Have an amazing rest of your day, you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon.